Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Rosemarie Francis. She is an author. She's also the creator of the Solo Moms Talk podcast. She's written, so we'll talk about all this, about her work. We'll also talk about her about how solo moms can move from survival to thriving, and why every mother needs to hear the declarations in the Solo Mom Manifesto. Welcome to the show, Rosemary.
Thank you very much, AJ. I'm pleased to be on your show again. Thank you.
Welcome to the show once again. Rosemary, these are different times, so we'll touch upon these things, important topics in a very different light and understand it, in your perspective. And there's so much to learn about all this. But so let's talk first a bit about your background, all those for new listeners and all a bit about your background, your journey, so that the audience knows who they are listening to.
Okay. All right. So I'm Rosemarie Francis. I'm a divorced mom. So I'm classified as a solo mom. And I have 3 sons and I have grandkids now, thankfully. And so professionally, I'm an author. I've written 2 books in the last couple of months, and I'm on my 3rd one. I'm also the creator and host of Solo Moms Talk and Tools of the Podcast Trade. So, and I love to mentor single moms.
Absolutely, Rosemary. So you talk about solo moms, and last time we talked around 3 years back, if I remember, and we talked it at that point in time. If we want to understand it in today's time, this time it is March 2026. How have things changed? Have they gone better? Is the world much more accommodative to this term called solo moms, or to solo moms altogether? How have they understood themselves in this last 3 years that has gone by since we last talked?
That's an interesting question, AJ. I just actually posted a blog post about the state of single moms and how we could destroy the stereotype that's still in place. What I've discovered is that a lot of moms who are raising their children solo are trying to shift from under the moniker of single mom because it has such a bad negative connotation attached to it. And so it's been a little difficult to pin down this group of women who are doing so much. We as moms raising children alone without a partner have been subject to systemic bias, in the workplace, in the financial system. And so we decided to chart our own path. We decided to build our own table instead of waiting for people to invite us to theirs. And so the change is that more and more moms raising their children solo are creating their own business, are starting their own ventures. Instead of depending on others for income, they're creating their own income. And in so doing, they're actually hiring other single moms. So we're contributing to this society who doesn't recognize us, doesn't respect us, and choose to ignore our status as moms raising. In the US alone, there are 15 million single moms. There are 15 million mother-led households. That's a lot of children that we're responsible for. And so that's what's been happening, because we can't take what's happening to us. So we've decided to take the reign and be responsible, be the agent for our own change. So that's what's been happening.
Absolutely. And how has been your journey in terms of, has it made you, with these changes happening, has it made you more optimistic, or, it's been neutral, or is it a different story from your perspective?
From my perspective, it's a positive change because change is coming from within. So I always say to solo moms, if you want to teach people how to love you, you have to love yourself first. And what we're doing is loving on ourselves by, doing self improvement, further education, building ourselves up, building so we can build our families, our children up. And that respect is going to come through because we're making a huge impact on the economy and we're making a huge impact in our children's lives. And so I am seeing that is a positive thing, that change is coming from within. We are being the change we want to see.
Absolutely, absolutely. We are being the change that we want to see. What about challenges, J. Rosemary? Have new challenges come in, or is it the old ones which are still continuing? How do you want to describe about solo moms when they are, facing the world with whatever they have got, either from a, fighter mindset, warrior mindset, or from a survival mindset, or from any other mindset that you see every day?
Well, the challenges are the same, right? I mean, it's no easy feat raising children alone, especially if that's not what you planned. If your husband passed away in the middle of, leaving you with young children, or you got divorced with all these children, you didn't plan that. So the challenges haven't changed. And your children still need to be fed and clothed and protected. So those challenges are there. One of the things that has happened, as I said before, is that we are now understanding that we're not alone because we have each other. There are 101 million mother-led households in the world, and those are the ones that are counted. There's twice that amount in existence, but only half that is counted. So there are a lot of us, and we're supporting each other in groups, Facebook groups, in online groups, in personal meetup groups. And so we have each other. We're not alone in whatever we're doing. And that has changed because we're recognizing it's not just me and it's not just you, it's all of us. But we're not weak, we're not poor, we're not lazy. We are strong and we're resilient, but we don't have to be strong alone. And the most important thing in my life is that we have a God who sees us.
Absolutely, absolutely, J. Rosemary. What about the myth of this, the myth that is surrounding the term single mother? Does it still remain a myth like we talked 3 years back, or is it, uh, people have come to understand it much more better? Help us understand, how do you want people to understand this term single mother, or itself is this term not a good word?
It it is still it's still a good term. I mean, the way society perceive it, it's what's wrong. And like I said, we have to be that change. We can't allow people to label us, right? And if we sit back and allow the moniker to continue, then we are the problem as well. For instance, so a lot of moms raising children are single. They were never married. 51% in the US were never married. But they're not loose people running around having babies all over the place. Some of them are adopting, and some are professional women who choose to raise a child rather than go childless. And so those are choices. Yes, there are some that may fall into the negative category, but the majority of single moms who never married are responsible adults, and they choose to have children, right or wrong. I'm not judging, out of wedlock. But there are also 49% who were either married and divorced or escaping a bad situation or their spouse passed away. So there's nothing wrong with the term single mom. We have to change society's mindset around the term.
Absolutely. How do you want to suggest to women about using this term? Because several times I come across, social media, even in podcast, profiles, a lot of women writing single mom, nothing wrong with that, and I perceive it very neutrally. Okay, that's a strength in a way to what they are doing, because that shows. But a lot of people may have different understanding. How would you want women, single moms who are using this term, but you want that to be used as a strength or perceived as a strength, not as a weakness, or also not to use it as a something which will benefit you, but rather be perceived as your strength, not as something which will, in quotation marks, say, will sell better. Help us understand. We have to look at, nowadays even men are using single father or something like that. Help us understand from these perspectives, so that the society understands you exactly you want to be understood, not as some term that can be utilized to sell your profiles better.
Right. I get it. And I understand. But I think we just have to be who we are. We have to continue to be the strong mother we are, the resilient mother, and the enterprising woman that we are. And we have to keep being those people, because you can't change people's mind by talking. You change their mind by your action, right? And yes, I know there are, scammers out there doing things under the mode single mom, trying to get money from people. There are those out there. But the majority of us are just as enterprising, strong, resilient as anyone else out there. And so we just have to keep being who we are at the core. And eventually society's mind will change.
Absolutely, absolutely. The society's mind is changing, and it will eventually change to what you want. So that will happen. In terms of, looking at identity, then, how would you like to people to understand this whole fight about identity? How do you want a single mom especially to understand their own identity? How do you want them to explain their identity to the world? It's been a different, it's a new time altogether, with artificial intelligence and everything, and there are so many things that can confuse anybody, or to represent in several different ways. One can get want to represent themselves in several different ways. What is identity in today's time for a single mom? How should they understand it?
Well, I'm going to say something that might be controversial. I think single moms need to see themselves as instruments of God, because those children you're raising were given to you by God. And so you're the agent of influence and change in their lives. And if you see yourself as God sees you, then your whole perception of who you are in Christ shifts. And that's what I want to talk about more and more, is that you don't see yourself in your own strength, because then you can succumb to weakness. You can succumb to people, target practicing on you. But when you see yourself as a daughter of grace, as an agent of change in your children's lives, your perception of who you are as a person changes. When you look in that mirror and said, "You go, girl, you're God's daughter, and you are a child of grace." It doesn't matter what people point at you and say. It's what you know here. So that's the identity I want single moms to adopt. I know we've been thrown out of church, we've been thrown out of places, because now we're no longer acceptable, because there's not a man by our side. But that's not God's way. So that's why I'm advocating for this position.
Absolutely. So how does that happen? People want to be identified as individuals, and they also, some of the women or single moms would want to be identified also. Even those who are not single moms, they have many of them also are, are guided by faith in their own lives. They are not looked differently. How would you want single moms also to, be like as if a part of the whole being, rather than just to make that extra effort? Some people will say, why should I make that extra effort, because I have already been the Lord and the God is always with me and has been with me all the time. Why do I need to make that extra effort to understand God? Help us understand from that point of view.
That's true, and that's good. Excuse me. But if if you're already under this grace and you accept and embrace this grace, then the struggles you experience, the struggles that you're experiencing are, they don't keep you up at night. You're not up at 3 a.m. fretting how you're going to pay your bills, because you understand that God, your Father, is going to take care of everything, right? And so the problem is that because I accepted Christ when I was 17 years old, but I struggled throughout my life, right? Because I did not embrace him as my father, my provider, my comforter. I was angry. I was bitter. I was afraid. I had anxiety. I had unforgiveness. All these things were inside me. But I had to go through therapy. I had to go through a transformation to arrive at the place where I was totally dependent on God for everything, right? One of the things I wanted to say as well is that for years, I celebrated Father's Day, right? And my friends would wish me Happy Father's Day, right? And I would revel in the fact that I am a father as well. But that is such wrong thinking. I've seen it on social media as well. You cannot be father. I cannot be a father because I was meant to be a mother. And my role is different from a father's role. And so once we accept who we are in that child's life and who we are in the plan and purpose of God, our whole concept of motherhood will change. And our whole concept of who we are as individuals changes. So that's why this is one thing to go to church and belong to a group. It's a whole new thing to have a deep and abiding relationship with Christ. And this is not being perfect or doing everything exactly the way it's supposed to be done. This is about trust.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is about trust indeed, Jay, Rosemary. In terms of, one's equation with society, community. Sometimes, society can look in a very different way about everything. It consists of all sorts of people. And an individual who goes through difficult times may start forming an idea about society, about community. Perhaps you may feel that you are distant away from that, or you feel that I need to make a world which is a bit away from such mindset. How do you? But we are all social animals. We need society. Society needs it. Needs us. How would you want, especially solo moms, to look at society, the community, integrate into it, or take help from them, or you contribute to the betterment of society, because your children are also going to be part of that very society? And this is where it all comes to the to a full circle. How would you want, especially solo moms, to look at their relationship with society so that it becomes beneficial for everyone?
Again, I will go back to what I talked about before. We we are not separate from society. You know, we're in jobs, we're working in jobs at different levels. We're employers, we're involved in our kids' PTA, we're on community groups all over the place. So we're not separate and we haven't separated ourselves. Now, there's some of us who are still going through difficulties and challenges because maybe we just we just got divorced, we just got dumped, we just got, widowed, whatever the case may be. And so there's a time of mourning, there's a time of grief when we have to step away from and mind our own little nest. But most of us, the majority of us, are totally integrated into society because, well, what else are we going to do?
Absolutely, absolutely, J. Rosemary. Let's talk about the healing part. Some of these women solo moms, they have had difficult times with their partners, with their husbands, leading to separation, and it does not leave a good experience if you move forward, and that can take a bit of time. The healing can take a bit of time.
Mm-hmm.
How do you ensure that you are healed, because that opens new doors for your new life? Also, with in terms of how do you ensure that your experience does not, when especially negative experience does not come over to your children and they become their experience, their understanding of men and men's role in societies. Because, and even if your daughters also, if it's that way, so that when they see it through your eyes, your experiences, it will not be a different world, it will be a same world that you have seen. How do you want them to see their own healing as well as passing down the neutrality part of it for the children's individual growth and seeing and understanding the world with their own neutral eyes?
Yes. Yes. These are some of the topics I address in the devotional. There's a 21-day devotional for single moms, and it's about dealing with the emotions that plagues us. Sometimes we deal with fear. We have a lot of fear, and we have a lot of anger. We have abandonment issues, not just from a spouse, but from our parents. So a lot of these emotions they culminate into a huge force of anger within us. And sometimes, if not treated, it gets displayed to our children, and our children experience that, absorb that, and they become a continuation of our pain. My advice, what I did was I went through therapy for 10 years because I'd gone through the abandonment. My mom left me with my grandfather when I was 9 months old. My grandfather died when I was 14, and I was left without parents for a few years. And so I felt abandoned all my life. I had to deal with that. Otherwise, my children would have had to deal with that. So I went through therapy, and I also experienced something when I did a 9-week discovery group at my church, where we were allowed to just talk about what happens in our life, what's happening, the pain we're going through. That was actually the inspiration for Solo Moms Talk, because this group helped me to vocalize what I was going through. And it also enabled me to experience what God as Father felt like. And so I used all that. I do a lot of journaling. I do meditation. I do yoga. I walk a lot. I walk and talk. A lot of people may see me walking, talking to myself, but I'm not crazy. I'm just introspecting. And one of the things I advise solo moms to do, especially when, all of this is new to you, you're in the wilderness trying to find your way out. Think about who you are as a person and what do you want to be for you, for yourself and your children. Don't just focus it all on your children, because you have to be somebody for them. You need to be that anchor they need to navigate life. And so you have to be not just strong for them in the sense of the word strong, but you have to be that guiding light. That's what you're there for. So do some self-reflection. Who are you? What do you want? What do you want for your children? What am I here for? Don't wait until the children leave the house to do that, because it's too late then, for them at least. Right? And so that's what I would do, is start there. Journal, write it down in a notebook. Sounds cliche, but it works wonders. And there's a lot of scientific evidence to journaling, writing your thoughts down. And one thing I want to add, don't ever forget to say, "Thank you, Lord." And let your children see that you're thankful, even in the midst of that storm you're in.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a very nice thought indeed, Rosemary. And that brings me to your declarations in the Solo Mom Manifesto. What is in there, so that that you have put in that for solo moms to understand?
So, you know, excuse me, the Solo Mom Manifesto was, it came out of a deep sense of frustration, because what we're talking about, I saw it years ago. I think I started writing this in 2015. So I saw this years ago, and I was thinking to myself, I'm so frustrated, because we are so strong and resilient, but we don't seem to realize it. It just seems like we don't know who we are. And so I wrote this declaration based on, the format of what a manifesto is. And it start by saying what I would like to see, and what I want to see with solo moms, right? So, like, I went into things like what I know for sure. I think Oprah was the one who coined this phrase. What I know for sure is that even though you are mothering solo, you are never alone. And that's not, that's probably normal. You hear that all the time. But I also know for sure that when you take care of yourself, you give others permission to care for you. By taking care of you, you are stronger, look younger, and you are more vibrant. So these are the things I write about in the manifesto. They're just verses, they're just quotes. I have quotes in there also from moms that have moms that I've interviewed on Solo Mom Talk, like Yvette Davis, who said, "Force yourself to keep a positive vision for your future." So this is a book it's a very short book that just encourages solo moms to embrace who they are and to stand strong and take that warrior pose.
Absolutely. And then you've got the books also, Courage to Believe and others. And one more you have said you were working on.
I'm sorry?
You have the books also, you've got the Courage to Believe. And then, if I heard you correctly during in the beginning, that you are working on some another book also.
Okay, so there's a third book. It's called Healing Hem. And it's a retelling of the story of the woman with the issue of blood. I should warn you that if you've ever lost a baby, this may not be the time to read that book if your experience was recent. So this is what I'm working on now, is that the next in the series is called the Daughters of Grace series, is called Five Husbands. It's based on it's a retelling of the story of the woman with the 5 husbands in the book. So I have this series that I'm writing about moms in the Bible who experience God's grace.
Absolutely. So, in a nutshell, J. Rosemary, what would you like to tell solo moms about what you are doing, what you are, working on, what your podcast is all about, everything that you are doing and thinking? Would you want to put it for them? Anything else that did not get reflected in my questions to you?
Thank you, AJ. I really appreciate you talking to me. And I would like for solo moms to check out the devotional. It's not your average devotional. It displays all your messy emotions. And I want you to understand that God sees you. I can be found on jrosemarie.com, solomomstalk.com. I'm on Instagram at solomomstalk. And check out my podcast, Solo Moms Talk. And I appreciate you. I'm also giving away free meditations based on the devotional. So I'm recording the audiobook, and while I'm recording, I'm also recording meditations that moms could use, and those are free.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you, AJ. I appreciate you.